Hello and welcome to the breakdown where we get all our hands on the action that happens over the last weekend in the Dialog A Division Rugby League. Starting off with the first match of the weekend, we had Navy taking on CHNFC, another massive loss for CH. They've scored only one try this season in 4 games, 67 points to 6 was how that one finished, and Navy will be very happy having a lot of their players out in the under-20 squad, that they got an easy game this weekend and that they managed to score as many as 11 tries. And then we came to the match of the week, or what we thought was going to be the match of the week, Sabir at Police Park, CRNFC visiting Police and ending up with a 22-12 win, a good win for CR in the end.
It is indeed, if you look at the halftime score where Police put some huge amount of pressure, but CR came with a great plan, especially Costa's box kicks where he was targeting the opposite 22-meter and the ball to bump in, go to the line-out zone and put Sharif and Reza Mubarak under pressure. But it didn't work. It did work twice, in fact, Shanaga, where Kanchan Ramanaka scored the first try. Yeah,
they took a leaf out of Candy's book, where Candy was putting Chamara Dabare under a lot of pressure. He lost his place as a result of that. Sharif moved there. He was a fullback, so they thought he might be able to better deal with it. But both Sharif and Mubarak were out of position. Ramanaka ran in, scored the first try for CRNFC, and after that it was 3 tries to them. They'll be a little upset that they missed the bonus point though.
Absolutely, 3 tries. They need to score one more try in order to gain a bonus point. But one situation when Joel Pereira of Police went to the sim bin, so CR playing with a man advantage. Are you okay? I mean, is that all right with taking a 3-man line out, especially in the 22-meter mark?
No, I don't agree with that call at all. There were a few calls that I didn't quite agree with. Ishan Noor is an experienced guy, so I'm sure he's getting some feedback off the bench as well. They're trying a few new things, so these things will get ironed out as we move on in the season when the players get to know each other a little bit better. But yes, I think CR didn't turn the screws enough. They could have been much more clinical in the way they finished that game off.
And also, Shanaka, if you look at the players swap, Afzal playing at 9, he is making so much yards. It was so good to see, but is Rehan Veerakon did enough support in providing? But we saw when Afzal went to win position, it did work for Police as well.
Yeah, Mohammad Afzal is a difficult player because, as we were discussing with Jeevan in the commentary as well, where do you play him? That's the most important thing, especially when you've got Sudham Suryarachi on the bench. So do you play Afzal at 9 or do you start Sudham at 9? So that's a problem that Police coaching staff have. The problem is they don't have proper coaching staff. So that's a decision that needs to be taken because they haven't got a coach coming in professionally and being full-time on that job. So Mohammad Afzal is providing a few headaches selection-wise. His defense is not so good to Sabir, so that's one aspect that they have to consider as well. But still, Police running purely on the steam of Bilal Hassan, who scored a couple of tries this game as well. He scored 8 tries for the season so far, and we also had Musin Falil, who had a good game. The rest of them, Riza had a better game than last week, but not too much else to write home about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we discussed also last week, it was only Bilal Hassan and Musin Falil who's in the 3 quarters doing really well. But Bilal, of course, now the leading try scorer with a tally of 8. And moving on to the next game, Shanaka Kandy versus Army Sports Club, which was a real test for the Army, playing especially in the Kandy Den. But it was a 15-8 in the first half, but second half onwards, Kandy taking the game.
Well, that tells me only one thing, Sabir, and he's told me only one thing even in the CR Police game, that Kandy are a head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of fitness. I think the only team that can come even close to them is Havelocks, but at the moment Kandy are well ahead and they've got so much strength coming off that bench that they can decimate any opposition. So other teams will really struggle to keep up with Kandy in the last 20 minutes of a game, and from 15-8 at halftime, Army playing really well, the game ended up 44 points to 8 in favour of Kandy. Army couldn't score a point in the second half, and Kandy ended up scoring 29.
And also, once again, forwards are coming into action. 3 tries for the Kandy forwards, 1 for Kishore Jehan, 1 for Pirman Manchanayaka, and coming from the bench, Gayan Ratnayaka scoring 1 try. So that shows the carry forward. Roshan Veeratna using his short passes, using his long passes, that really works well for Kandy. And also, 3 quarters wise, Jamaldin, he missed the first 2 penalties and then he was back into the game. He made 4 conversions and 2 more penalties.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm a little worried about in terms of Kandy. Kandy have always had a better backline than they had a forward pack, but I think Sean Vijay Singh has probably tighten that gap there. I think the Kandy forwards are playing much better even though they don't have real names. Don't forget Shehan Pathiran is still to come into this side as well. But Arshad Jamaldeen, in terms of place kicking, with the way Rimsey is playing at Havelocks, if it comes down to a place kicking battle, that could be a really interesting one between the two Jamals.
Absolutely, between the two Jamals. So, and also one more thing in the Kandy game, Shanaka, Bunaka Udangam getting yellow card. So it's 2 consecutive yellow cards. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Buoneka Udankamua was a player who had a few discipline problems even in school. When he was playing for Dharmaraja, he was not the most disciplined guy on the park. He's come a long way in terms of actually being fit. So I think he has the work rate to play this game, and he just needs to calm himself down, act with a little bit of maturity. And I think that's where Sean Vijay Singh and the senior boys need to get in his head and say, look, mate, you're no use to us on the chair, you're more used to us on the pitch, and I think he's got to get used to that.
Absolutely, he's one to look forward into the national squad as well in terms of playing at number 8 or in the back row division. And also the other funny thing is between that match, Shanaka, Kandy, in fact Army captain Asoka Jayalal, inside their own 40-meter mark, he was making a box kick and the ball went no man's land but into touch straight away onto his left. So is it something to try, or is it all about the panic?
Well, I think they obviously would have panicked because they were getting hammered in the second half. But Asoka Jayalal, as an experienced man, thinks he'll try whatever he can. You've got to give it to him for trying something.
And one last thing about Aryapala brothers for Army. They have been so well. In fact, Dinusha and Aryapala scored the very first try between the fumble between Nigel Ratwata and Richard Dharmapala. But Aryapala brothers, they are so well playing. When they play next match especially, they have to make more yards, they have to carry forward the 3 quarters. Also Gayan Salin, he was in the most highest point scorer list, but he could only make 1 penalty. As a result, he have moved down to 4th place now.
Yeah, I think Gayan Salinda and the Aryapala brothers are the actual cut and thrust of that Army team. But what they need to do is make sure that third row gets around in support. And I think that's where Army's third row lacks a bit of mobility, Sabir. And if they can get there and support those ball carriers, give them some quick ball, then they're going to get much better.
Absolutely. And moving on to the next game, Havelocks versus Air Force. Havelocks winning 26 points to 13, and they managed to secure the bonus points under lights.
Well, that was the score at the end of the game, but I don't think Coach Laga or the Havelocks team will be very happy with that. 26 points to 13. It doesn't speak of hammering, but I'm sure Air Force played much better than that. But Havelocks will need to make sure that they get the points on the board, because Kandy missed 50 points by only 6 points this time, and they scored 3 50-point margins already. So Havelocks under lights in their own home ground, I think they'll be a bit disappointed with that.
Absolutely. Air Force had so much chance, especially in the first half. They are going into the opposite 22-meter, but they could not convert them into the points. Even in the second half, they had so much chance coming into the red zone, but they are losing away position. So that is something to Coach Leonard De Silva to look after for the coming games. But Havelocks has an injury worry, Shanaka. Danushka Ranjan have stuck with his knee, and he's probably maybe out for another 1 or 2 weeks. So does their captain Sandun Herath, who's injured. So it'll be interesting how they are going to come into the fit, because next match against Army, they need them, in fact, because Army is doing well, they can change anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. And Danushka Ranjan is the linchpin of that side. I mean, he's the guy that they always go to. He's scored in almost every game. They have a few people coming back, guys like Nishan Pereira, Hiranta Pereira, all coming back into the side. But with Sandun, Ranjan and Rehan Tyagaraja also out for quite a while, Havies will have a few problems if they can't keep these boys fit.
Absolutely. And also talking about Prasad Madhushankar, the prop forward, in fact the hooker, he was so outstanding. He's everywhere when Rahul De Silva feeds the ball. So Rahul De Silva controlling the game, managing the game really well, and scored one fascinating try. He dummied the opposite fullback, and it was so individual try. And he's the one, we picked Rahul as the man of the match, so credits to him. So it's good to see Rahul and Costas, they are delivering well in terms of scrum half, Shanaka.
Yeah, I think it's good for Sri Lankan rugby, definitely. I think Rahul is one of the most intelligent scrum halves we've had in a long time. Going back even to guys like Champik and Nishanta, Roshan Veeraratne is a very good combative scrum half, but Rahul brings a little bit more to the game. So I think it's very good that he's playing well with a good team. Prasad Madhushankar, very hungry player. Ever since he was playing for the CRBs, he's been hungry to play rugby. He's been hungry to score tries, and it's good to see him getting some.
Yeah, things are going well for them. And moving on to our try score, point score list, Bilal Hassan leads the table with 8 tries and followed by Fazil Marija with 5 tries and Yoshita Rajapaksha and Kanchan Ramanaka with 4 tries each. And in the points table, Arshad Jamaldeen with scoring the 14 points against Army, he moved to 47 points. He tops the table. And Nuan Pereira, Air Force fullback, he's on 43 and Bilal Hassan with 40 points with all of his 8 tries.
Which just shows that the teams are relying a lot on the rolling maul with Yoshita and Bilal scoring 12 tries between them. That shows that the maul is just a really good weapon for Sri Lankan teams.
Absolutely. It will be a tester when Navy and Police take on this Saturday at Valisara, and also the Kandy versus CRNFC at the Racecourse ground. So your prediction on that?
Well, I think Kandy is going to win that one pretty easily, actually, Sabir, because I think the execution on the part of CR this game was not enough, but they've got a little bit of momentum. So you can never say Coach Inti Marika knows that Kandy side really well also. But in terms of fitness, I think Kandy will just have too much in the end.
Absolutely. We'll wait and see how the week 5 of Dialog Rugby League going to happen. And until then, I'm Sabir Kader along with Shana Kamarsinga signing off for the ThePapare.